Welcome to Honestly Twilight.
You mean Honestly Twilight?
Yeah, something like that. So today we're going to be talking about Eclipse, which is the third book in the Twilight saga. And this is Josephine.
Yes.
And I'm Gry. And because the plot is a little bit forgettable, we're going to be giving you a quick rundown of it before we get into the discussion. It's going to be fun.
Sure. No. As Jacob would have said, sure.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Bells. Yeah. The book is all lovey-dovey at first because Edward is back in town and has been so for some months, and they're talking about graduation because, as you all remember, in New Moon, maybe you can't see, but New Moon is here. Thank you. In New Moon, they promised her that at graduation they would make her a vampire. So a lot of the book is, of course, about that and how Edward doesn't like that because she's going to lose her soul and he wants her to be human. And as you can hear, I really love that part. And it's also about...
Sure.
And it's also about Jacob, of course.
It's about Bella being very sad that she can't see Jacob because Jacob isn't answering any of her messages. And Edward is obviously not wanting her to hang out with a werewolf / the guy she's secretly in love with. So
yes,
who can blame him? A lot of people are dying in Seattle and people are worried about this. And the Cullens obviously figure out that this is something that's done by vampires. And throughout the book, Jasper, who has worked with newborns before, realizes that an army of newborns is being built, and they're like the only threat in this area big enough to make an army of that size necessary is the Cullens. So they figure it's coming for them. Bella figures out Victoria is probably behind it. Yeah, they're probably coming for her.
And then there's a fight.
Yeah, and then there's a fight.
That's it.
And throughout the book, we get some development for her relationship with Edward, her relationship with Jacob. There's some kissing that we're not big fans of. And then a big fight. And
the end.
Bella agrees to marry Edward.
Oh yeah, I forgot that.
And he agrees to make her a vampire after they've married.
Yes.
So that's Eclipse.
Because of sex.
That is the most perfunctory summary ever.
Very focused.
Yeah,
Go read it on Wikipedia, maybe. They might be better.
Slightly. Oh, no. She taught me that when you shouldn't clear your throat, it destroys it.
Yeah.
Annihilates it.
Yes, it hackles on your voice cords or whatever.
Vocal cords.
Vocal cords, thank you. Voice cords. Yeah.
It's good to have you back, Josephine.
So let's start. What's the first part of the agenda?
The first part we're going to be talking about is the first part of the story. We're going to be talking about the part where Bella really wants to go see Jacob. She's sad that she's no longer seeing Jacob. And she, and Edward doesn't want her to go and is keeping her from going.
And how is he doing that?
Yes, that's the first thing we're going to be talking about. Let's talk about Edward because
we need to talk about Edward.
We need to talk about Edward. In the previous books, in Twilight and in New Moon, there were points where Edward did things that I was uncomfortable with, but where part of me could ultimately also be like, he's a vampire, and yeah, it's a bit controlling, but blah, 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 blah. It wasn't okay, but I could still abstract myself a bit
we
from
all
it.
we all love to love a psycho.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, right.
That's right. All the Ted Bundy movies is out right now, and serial killer stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh, just Dexter.
Everything's dark and gritty. But in Eclipse, the problem, as we've talked about before, is that Twilight is not a grimdark fantasy. It's not going into this is a dark relationship and stuff. It presents it as if Edward is this amazing guy, and then he does this.
Bella believes so too. Every time that Edward does something that's questionable, even she is questioning it. then she's like, oh yeah, but I'm just a dumb human. He must know better. Or other people will tell her she's just dumb and Edward is just trying to protect her, so it's okay.
We will get more into that because I don't entirely agree.
Oh! Okay, but let's
disagreement, everybody!
Let's discuss Edward. So Edward's behavior is to take out a part of her car.
Actually, the first thing that happens, if we're just going to be going chronologically through the fucked up things that Edward does in this book, he wants her to go out of town.
Yes, I have it right here.
Yeah. He wants her to go out of town to see Renee because in New Moon, at her birthday, at the beginning of New Moon, she received tickets to go see her mother by Carlisle and Esme. There are 2 tickets so she and Edward can go.
And Bella has been grounded because of the stuff that happened in the end of New Moon.
Yeah.
Her traveling to Italy and getting back together with Edward, I presume. But she's been grounded for life, and Charlie lives that.
Yeah, but the book
barely lives it.
The book starts with him lifting the grounding.
Yes.
And she's like, I don't want to provoke him. I know he won't like us going alone together to see Renee.
So she says, don't start this talk with him. And then Edward does this. Charlie, Edward said in a conversational tone. Charlie stopped in the middle of his little kitchen. Yeah. Did Bella ever tell you that my parents gave her airplane tickets on her last birthday so she could visit Renee? And I have written in the side of this book, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Because she just told him this would
it's just so not okay.
So Bella says after this talk with Charlie, where Charlie agrees that they can go, and Bella still doesn't want to, but now Edward has put the plans into motion. I told you I didn't want to fight with Charlie. And then Edward says, nobody said that you had to. And if that was said to me, I would have broken every bone in that body. And he would have felt that hatred evaporating from my body, my warm, human, fragile body. And I have written in the side of the book, just break up already. He's the worst. Because that's how I felt.
This is a dick move, everybody. But it becomes even more dickish when we... Oh. Because at first I thought that he did this to keep her from Jacob. Which is dickish enough in itself. But it turns out when Jacob returns to the story, he returns by meeting Edward and Bella at the school of Forks. And he tells Edward to back the fuck off. And Bella is like, what's going on? And it turns out that during their trip to see her mother, the vampires were hunting Victoria, who's apparently back. Edward hasn't told her this. That's why he wants her out of town. And the werewolves are also hunting Victoria, and she ends up manipulating them so that the werewolves and the Cullens clash. And Emmett and Paul is a werewolf, almost get into a big fight. So Jacob is coming here to threaten Edward and say, back the fuck off our land. And then Bella is like, what's going on? And Jacob is like, you haven't told her? So Edward is keeping secrets from her.
Yeah, so he's defining it as not lying because he just didn't tell her. And we all know that's a lie because we all did this fuckery when we were teenagers. Like, where have you been? Out. We're out, just with Charlotte. And then our moms would be like, okay, yeah.
And I was at a rave party with Charlotte.
Exactly. We lied so much. Like, I don't have, I hope my mom is not. But I have not told my mom how many times I visited McDonald's.
I'm sending this to your mom. I'm gonna track her down, Edward style.
Don't do it, Edward. I was about to say that. Oh, also the reason why Bella was grounded was because Jacob told Charlie that she was riding dirt bikes.
Oh yeah. At the end of New Moon.
And that's why she's also a little mad at Jacob because he only did that to get her grounded. Yeah, and then the fuckery starts with Edward not wanting Bella to see Jacob.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's later on the list or if that's not.
We're still talking about Edward the fuckboy.
Okay.
Okay, fuckboy in the not good way. He's a fucked up. Spoiler before you all turn off, all of you who love Edward. I'm gonna like him better later in the book, so spoiler. But
I'm sorry, I can't help myself. I just love Edward so much.
I was made for loving you, Edward. You were made for being loved.
I'm crying over. So it's my teen heart, and I just. And the worst part is he has no personality, and he still doesn't. Like, no matter how much I've read these books, he has no personality at all. And I'm still like, every time Edward gets happy about something, like when he asks her to marry him, I'm just like, oh my god, you sweet, sweet boy. I'm so sorry, and I wish for my own boy, or if I ever get a daughter, that if they fall in love with an Edward, I'm strong enough to say, get the fuck out.
You're strong enough to be a Charlie.
I'm strong enough to be Charlie, yes. So first, Edward is trying to protect her in his overprotective way.
He keeps secrets from her. He takes the engine out of her car. He does something to it so that it won't run.
He actually asked her. He takes the engine out of her, or something out of her car, so she can't start it.
He does something with the car so it doesn't work.
Yeah. And while she's going to see Jacob, and he's sitting in her room or in the car or something outside, and he's saying, if you don't want me to come in tonight, because they're sleeping together every night, just close the window.
But not the fun kind of sleeping together.
No, they're not fucking.
Just the teeth chattering, he's cuddling me, and he feels like an icebreak kind of cuddling, sleeping together.
Like, how is it normally for two virgins to sleep together? Isn't it like that?
Yeah, I guess.
I remember it that way, at least. No.
The teeth chattering as well.
But actually, I do prefer being really cold inside my bedroom, so I don't think I would mind him being there. Again, for my love of Edward. But, and she goes to close the window because she's furious at him, but, like, Bella can't stand any emotion except love for Edward, so she just opens the window anyway.
Yeah. Bella, you have a right to be angry.
Yes.
Girls, boys, if your partner does something that's not okay,
it's probably not okay.
You don't have to just forgive them. You have a right to be angry.
Yeah. And when they tell you it's your fault, like Edward did with Charlie, you didn't have to fight with Charlie. Just put a fork in their neck. I mean, no, don't kill anybody, obviously. But if they're made of marble, right.
Yeah. What actually happens here is that Bella tells him off.
Yeah.
So after he destroys the car, Bella does tell Edward off. The problem is that she doesn't actually stick to it. She doesn't stick to her anger. She's bad at holding a grudge, as Edward actually points out in this book.
So she's saying all the right things, but as you all know, saying something and acting on it is two different things, and we should all judge people on what they're doing and not what they're saying. Because to say stuff could be a lie. And that's why I personally have a very hard time with people who are just saying sorry. Because you can easily say sorry, but to make up for it is a totally different thing. And I think that's what Bella is doing. She's all the time like telling Edward off, so she's seeming strong and independent, but she's always just like, oh yeah, well, okay.
I forgive him. She gets to be both put off and tell him off, but also gracious and forgiving.
Love is not accepting other people's faults or bad behavior.
It's more like tolerating them.
Yes, and in this book it's funny because they're talking a lot about compromising, and I don't think what they're doing is compromising at all. They're not finding the middle ground. And then in Breaking Dawn, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's stick to the agenda.
Yes.
So he keeps her from seeing Jacob. He lies, and
she tells him off, and he. For a moment there, you're like, okay, he's gonna let her see Jacob. Like, because the conversation where Bella tells him off, it ends in a way that makes you think maybe Edward's gonna be better now. But then, Alice kidnaps Bella.
Yeah.
Bella is kidnapped while Edward has to go out of town to hunt. And Alice has seen that she will go visit Jacob, so Edward asks her to basically kidnap her for a girls' night out, so that she won't be able to go see Jacob. So she's getting kidnapped, and Bella is so pissed. She calls him and she tells like, grizzly bears are nothing compared to what's waiting for you at home. And then he comes home and she's like, oh, I missed you.
And then she cheats, right? So she runs off and goes see Jacob anyway. She's very afraid of how Edward...
Oh, actually, this is before
the kidnapping.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So before the
kidnapping,
she goes to see Jacob. And because he's going hunting and she's not being kidnapped, and then she decides in the spur of the moment, because she's getting the day off, she's going to see Jacob, and because of that, Alice can't predict that she's going to do it because she hadn't decided before she sits in the car, and it only takes 15 minutes to get to the reservation where Jacob lives, and he's very happy to see her. They talk, blah blah blah, and then she gets out of the reservation. She gets out of the reservation and goes to see Angela.
So Bella has just seen Jacob. She's going to see Angela because as she promised Charlie, she'd start hanging out with her friends more, her human friends. I was right to have gone. Jacob needed me. And obviously, I thought as I squinted into the glare, there was no danger. It came out of nowhere. 1 minute, there was nothing but bright highway in my rearview mirror. The next minute, the sun was glinting off a silver Volvo right on my tail. And for those of you who don't remember, Edward drives a silver Volvo. Oh crap, I whimpered. She whimpers. I considered pulling over, but I was too much of a coward to face him right away. I'd been counting on some prep time and having Charlie nearby as a buffer. At least that would force him to keep his voice down. The Volvo followed inches behind me. I kept my eyes on the road ahead. Chicken through and through, I drove straight to Angela's without once meeting the gaze I could feel burning a hole in my mirror. He followed me until I pulled to the curb in front of the Weaver's house. He didn't stop, and I didn't look up as he passed. I didn't want to see the expression on his face. I ran up the short concrete walk to Angela's door as soon as he was out of sight. She is terrified of him!
Yes, and then this...
And he is intimidating her. He is driving inches behind her. That is so uncomfortable.
Yes, and she's very clumsy, as we all know.
Yeah, he shouldn't be driving that close by.
Maybe he won't die, but she surely will, because that car is ancient. When they get together, she says, "Hi," I finally said. His face could have been carved from stone. I counted to 100 in my head, but there was no change. So I'm still alive, I began. A growl rumbled low in his chest, but his expression didn't change. No harm done, I insisted with a shrug. He moved, his eyes closed, and he pinched the bridge of his nose between the fingers of his right hand. "Bella," he whispered, "do you have any idea how close I came to crossing the line today? To breaking the treaty and coming after you? Do you know what that would have meant?" And... obviously, Bella, it's you're the problem here. It's not my incapability of controlling my reaction that's the problem. You shouldn't be making me having these reactions to begin with. Exactly.
Oh, I'm so angry.
He's saying everything. Because that's the problem. He's turning his feelings and his actions into her fault and making her take responsibility of this. And because he's done this through all the books, she's actually starting to believe this. She's like saying to all kinds of stuff, "Oh yeah, that must be my fault. Oh yeah, if I do this, then Edward would be mad, and then it's my fault, and I can't live with that." And I'm just like, get out. Yeah.
You need a Charlie shotgun.
And that's what she's telling him. They're talking about it, and they have this discussion. "That's ridiculous. I mean, I know she couldn't see me with Jacob, but you should have known. But I didn't," he broke in. "You can't expect me to let you." "Oh, yes, I can," I interrupted him. "That's exactly what I expect. This won't happen again." "That's right, because you're not going to overreact next time."
Yes.
"Because there isn't going to be a next time. I understand when you have to leave, even if I don't like it. That's not the same. I'm not risking my life. Neither am I. Werewolves constitute a risk. I disagree. I'm not negotiating this, Bella. Neither am I." So it's actually a good dialogue.
Yeah, it's actually a really
so
brilliant.
Really well.
Yeah, but a lot of their conversations are actually really engaging.
Yes, and that's when he gets Alice to babysit her.
Okay, this is the scene where you're thinking, okay, now Bella told him off, he's gonna behave better, and then Alice kidnaps her, and kidnaps her because he's going out hunting again. because he didn't actually properly hunt this time.
And Bella is saying it wasn't so bad, except for the fact that I was being held against my will. And that's what I would call pretty bad, if you're held against your will.
Is that what's she talking about there?
She's talking about the sleepover, because Alice is pretending for it to be just a girly sleepover party, and they're going to have fun, pedicure, braided hair. Edward bought a bed. He put in his room to make her comfortable, and that's where I love Bella dearly, because she chose to sleep on the sofa.
I think, okay, can we just talk about Alice for a moment?
Yes.
Because I think Alice could have been such an interesting character if only Bella had not taken her at face value. Because Alice, the thing with the sleepover is Alice doesn't remember what it's like to be human. So she has obviously watched some movies about girls and like they do this, and then she's going off of a list. That's what Bella says. It feels like she's going off a list, and now we have to do this, and then we braid hair, and then we put makeup on, and then we make a cake, and blah, 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 blah. So it's interesting how much Alice is trying, and I wish Bella, in either Eclipse or when she becomes a vampire in Breaking Dawn, had gone more out of the way to figure out Alice and figure out what are you when you're not pretending to be human, because Alice is in some ways the purest vampire that exists, because she doesn't remember what it's like being human. And it's very interesting that she decides not to kill humans, that even matters, because she has no recollection of being human.
No, but she had that they explained that rather badly in previous books, that she has a flash. Like the moment she becomes a vampire, she sees the Collins, and there's another way of life.
It would have been more interesting if she'd gone on a rampage and had started not liking that life, and then had.
But how would she know how to not like it? Because she doesn't have a definition.
Exactly, she has no moral compass. Why should she look at humans as anything but cows?
And that we will talk about that with Jasper as well. And Bella doesn't try to understand Alice at any point. She doesn't know. She thinks that Alice is doing this for her. She never considers if Alice is doing this for Alice. Because Alice has never had girlfriend. She has never had the girl talk. They don't talk about Alice and Rosalie's relationship, but it doesn't.
They don't seem to have any relationship
at all.
Exactly. We're going to be coming back to that later in this episode, where I'm going to be talking about the Cullens.
And I will just listen.
Well, hopefully you will have something to add. I'm really hoping that. But I also like the echo chamber, you know.
But Bella goes sees Jacob. I think once more she's escaping Alice. No, Jacob is coming to get her from Alice, and Alice couldn't predict that because she can't see werewolves.
Yeah, so he comes to the school to get her.
And then Edward is granting his permission.
So at this sleepover, Bella, as I said, is pissed. She told him, a fury greater than that of grizzly bears is waiting for you at home. And so for this sleepover, Edward bought a bed. And it's like the only bed in the entire house. And Bella doesn't want to sleep in it. And so she's sleeping on his couch. And the bed has certain insinuations.
Roses.
The whole thing is a little bit sexual. And then one night, after having been with Jacob, and she's at the sleepover, she wakes up and she's in the bed. She went to sleep on the couch, and now she's in the bed. And Edward is back. And here comes a scene where Edward is expecting Bella to be angry, but Bella can't hold a grudge, so she forgives him, and they start making out, and they have this long conversation. And so she starts trying to do the kind of stuff that a couple might do in a big bed.
He's not angry. She notes that.
Yeah,
he's not angry.
He's not angry.
And she's confused by that, because she expected him to be angry at her.
She expected a fight.
Yeah, and he's apologizing after they've kissed a lot, and she's saying, I'm going to spontaneously combust one of these days, because he doesn't want to fuck her.
Yeah, I did not get that comment when I was little, and I remember rereading it, and I was like, combust, that's like bursting into flames, what does she mean? Humans don't do that. Do vampires? I was like, is this world building? And then when I read it this time, I was like, oh, she's so horny.
Yes. And that's another thing. So Bella needs to be a complete virgin I don't know why, but you all know that virgins are so...
Something.
I don't get it. Like,
No.
Personally, I don't want to fuck a virgin because I think it's bad. It's bad, yo. It's not like in the movies. The first time you have 3 orgasms.
We're gonna be getting into that.
So good, so good. And I'm like, rock one out, honey. Like back in 2006 or when this came out, did people not masturbate? Because I know I've had a lot of sexual repression. Like throughout my life, but every girl like that, like, just do girls just not masturbate? Do we not know what it is? I don't get it. I don't think Edward is there all the time, so of course it would be a little.
Yeah, it would be a little
lying. I decided getting one out, but I mean, what is this? They're not even talking about it, like at all.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm going to spontaneously combust one of these days. You don't have to, honey. You can just like go out to the bathroom and do your business. Okay? He's probably doing that all the time while you're sleeping. I mean, looking at you.
You just made it worse.
It is worse. That's why it's so disgusting.
But that's one of the weird things about vampire physiology, right? Because apparently they're never changing, but he can get it up.
Yes. That's a good point. I don't like how the religious aspect of virginity as a desirable thing and how sex is pure and how the penis getting into the vagina is the only good thing about sex and marriage should be the only thing that's persuading this, and Bella is made to feel wrong because she doesn't want a marriage to have sex. And this conversation in the bed starts that again. And I hate it. I hate it so much. Because I don't want girls to feel wrong for being like feeling lustful. You're okay. Everybody wants sex. I mean, almost anybody.
Okay, unless you're asexual, which is fine as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
whatever you are, you're fine.
Exactly. You just don't feel wrong to have urges. Like, we will get into why acting on your urges might be wrong.
Jacob!
And that's when Edward decides that he doesn't mind her going to see Edward.
He basically admits that he was wrong to force her away from this, and that he doesn't want this to keep digging a rift in. And I actually liked this part of the scene. I appreciated that. I thought it was handled somewhat well. I maybe would have liked more of an apology from him for him to go back over his previous behavior and be like, that was not okay. I'm going to be trying to control myself, because he does actually. So what happened for me from this point forward for quite a large part of the book was that I didn't really trust Edward. He behaved better. He let her go see Jacob, and he was in general more in control of himself.
Yeah,
like,
so
suddenly,
what's the inferior motive, right?
No, what more like I kept being like, I'm not sure I trust you've changed, right? But then when he actually kept up the change for quite a while, I started kind of rooting for him again. I started kind of appreciating their part of the story again.
So we're back to saying and acting. He's saying he's sorry and he's acting like he's changing, and then you start trusting him.
Yeah, I started to trust him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So
because
it proves your point.
Yeah.
I think I feel a little bit bad that, change is fucking hard. It would be okay if Edward struggled a little bit. Or
if he talked about his jealousy more to her.
Yeah, because it would make him more human. It would make you understand him better, and it would make him much more empathetic if he was like, look, I'm really trying to let you go see Jacob, but I'm jealous and I'm scared he's gonna hurt you because he's a young werewolf and I know that you trust him. But I have a difficult time trusting him.
He wants to kiss you.
Yeah.
Or he knows Jacob's
He knows Jacob's
He knows. I would like to say, though, that the damage is already done.
As in
Bella and Jacob is not speaking after this meeting, actually. And Edward doesn't know that because he can't read her thoughts. Because Bella tells Jacob that she's going to be a vampire after graduation. And then Jacob says, I'd rather see you dead. And then Edward says, I'm so sorry. And she says, I thought you'd be glad. And this is what he made the love of his life feel. That her losing her best friend would make Edward happy.
But at the same time, okay, in some way it makes sense that you would assume that someone that when you're in this situation, you're with a guy, but then there's this other guy who is obviously interested in you and you have this special connection, and he should be jealous.
No, he shouldn't be. He should be trusting in their relationship.
Oh yeah,
she's telling him the truth that she wants to be with him.
That's right, but like it makes sense that he's jealous.
And he hasn't talked about his jealousy to her, so how is she going to do anything? That's what the girl talk with Angela is all about, that Bella is realizing that Edward is jealous. Because she hadn't figured it out. Like, I mean,
that's
most
right.
people would have. So she's having this girl talk with Angela, and Angela is like, you don't think... She's saying, Edward's only human, Bella. He's going to react like any other boy. And I would just like to say I'm happily married.
It's always New Moon that's falling down.
I would just like to say that I'm happily married, but if my boy did act like controlling and possessive and jealous without speaking about it to me, I would be like, get the fuck out.
I don't think Angela is excusing his behavior here. Because she
not
doesn't actually know what he's doing, but she's saying that he's jealous. She's not saying he shouldn't get over it. She's just saying that's what's going on.
Yes.
I didn't think about that actually, that she doesn't realize Edward's jealous because she personally does not view Jacob as a contester at all. So she doesn't get that he would be jealous.
Just like me. I don't see Jacob as any contestant at all, because it's so obviously Edward is the only one. I mean, how can there be a team Jacob? I'm so sorry. I don't get it. Like, how?
Because they have better chemistry.
Yeah, they're better chemistry, true, and their dialogue is so easy, and there's a lot more fun to it because everything with Edward and Bella that is shown is a fight. But for some reason, he's the love of her life. Jacob is not.
We're gonna come back to that, to the part that I call authorial control. That's coming there. I have a whole rant prepared.
I look forward to it. Maybe we're over. Like, we discussed Edward.
We've discussed part 1, Edward. That took a lot of time. 25 minutes of talking about just Edward at the beginning. But to summarize my feelings from this point forward, I began to slowly trust Edward more, and I began to enjoy scenes with Edward more because he wasn't doing things I wanted to bitch slap him for, and he actually did some redeemable things for the rest of the book. And I would say that you're always saying that every conversation they have is a fight. They have several scenes in this book that are not fights.
True,
and they were enjoyable. Yeah,
that changes after he's accepting, and they have a lot of more
real girlfriend boyfriend dynamic.
Thank you. Yeah. Relationship conversation, like getting into the depth of each other and trying to understand the other person's. And
I think that's why Eclipse was my favorite when I was younger, back when I read it first, because I really enjoyed just getting deeper into the relationship. Barring all of the other things, that part I really loved.
Full disclosure, I still hate this book. And I still think it's forgettable, so listen to Gry if you want to hear a good
Always
time.
Listen to Gry.
And just mute me every time I'm talking.
One quick thing I want to mention before we move on from the first part of Eclipse, sorry for spending so much time on that, is that Bella is really suffering from some trauma from New Moon. There are several things that are really problematic in Eclipse, where she really doesn't like when he leaves her. She really just wants him to stay, and this is probably more of a problem with Bella not having a lot of personality, but there is a part where she is just spending the afternoon doing whatever because she's waiting for Edward to come over. So there's one little part of the day that she does not spend with Edward. So he sleeps there, and then in the morning he goes to change and then comes pick her up. So that's a little short snippet of time where they don't spend time together. Then they're together at school, and then she comes home. No, he comes over after school, and they hang and then he has to go, and then she has the afternoon before he crawls back through her window. So that whole evening thing, spending time together or being alone, it seems like she just does nothing. And she does his housework and homework.
Homework, yeah.
And a little bit of reading some books that are relevant lightly to the plot, Wuthering Heights. and it's just so sad to me that she's not doing anything with her life. I don't really understand why Edward so wants her to keep being human. She's not really doing anything with it.
No. I get it, like I did a lot of things in high school though. It's not like that, but your real life really starts when you move out on your own, right? And that's what he wants her to experience. I get that.
Yeah.
But I also think what he's trying to do is trick her into being human for the rest of her life, so not to become a vampire and lose her soul.
It just bothers me that she has nothing to do. Like I always have things to do. It's really hard for me to.
But remember, this was before YouTube or Facebook.
Yes, so.
Or at least the author didn't know about it then.
But yeah, okay.
What did you do before that? She can't play outside
draw.
Because she will
you can
die. And there's no library that's good in the city, and she's not allowed to go out of the city.
But she has no hobbies.
All Carlyle's books is probably shit ass boring about medicine stuff. Like she's not painting because she's so clumsy. I can't see her paint. Like,
she should have picked up photography after New Moon.
Oh, she could pick up photography. Yeah.
Making vampire.
Oh yeah, that whole scrapbook just disappeared.
Yeah, that just disappeared.
Oh my god.
Yeah, which is weird because now she in Eclipse, she actually knows she's going to become a vampire. She should be taking pictures of people.
Yes.
That's actually interesting that disappears. Well, I just wanted to note that that Bella really doesn't have anything to do. Her whole life is just at work.
But she's reading books. And actually I think the author, Stephanie Meyer, put a lot of energy into that. She's just not doing it well, to put it as a personality trait of
that she's
Bella.
A reader.
Yeah, because she is a big reader.
Yeah.
She knows almost Wuthering Heights from her heart, and Stephanie Meyer herself is educated in literature. So I think it's actually an important thing that she's a bookworm. It's just not explained that good.
Yeah, it could have been shown more that she went out of her way to find because she's always reading the books you should have read.
Yes.
Right. She's reading Pride and Prejudice and Wuthering Heights.
Shakespeare is going through. And do you know how boring reading Shakespeare can be?
Especially if you're reading it as a screenplay and not as prose.
Yes.
Like, it's just, they fight, he dies.
You actually have to acquire the taste of reading screenplays and be imaginative enough to see the scenes. That's why The Cursed Child of J.K. Rowling is getting a lot of shit, because it's really hard actually to read something that's not prose.
Yeah, but I've heard a lot of people really love going to the theater and watching it. Yeah, exactly. Because you don't have,
And that's what you should do with Shakespeare. Watch it, not read it.
Yes, agreed.
Bella.
You do you!
But I think also that being a bookworm wasn't such a typical thing. Of course, Harry Potter was out at the time this was written. Yes.
Yeah.
And a big thing. So Hermione, being a bookworm and being a very profound bookworm, was already out. But it was not an in thing. And I think that's something that...
It still isn't, really.
Yeah, but it is on Instagram, right? There's a whole community. That's what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
And there's...
Hello, Bookstagram!
Exactly, Bookstagram, and there's also BookTube now, right? There is a lot more of extrovercy. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. There's a lot of talking about books now that wasn't there before.
There's more opportunities for introverts to communicate.
Exactly, yeah, but you don't even have to be an introvert. I'm not especially an introvert, but I love books. But who was I supposed to talk with books with when everybody just read what they had to do for school? And I mean, that's not that exciting. Yeah, that's not very exciting. So I think that maybe she dulled it down as not to have Bella being a total stranger for the readers. I actually think that's what
I
happened.
really think that's sad. Like, I really would have loved it if she had actually been like, you know what? Bella is really a literary nerd. She's reading all of this stuff, and then Edward comes along and like, I read that too, and they could have discussions about it.
That's why
that would have been so cool.
That's so irritating with Twilight when she researches Edward, because this girl knows how to use a library. She knows the library in and out. She would never go to a computer and only visit one website.
I think it says that she's visiting more.
She's trusting vampires A to Z.
Yeah.
And she's telling us that again in Breaking Dawn. That's the only website she trusts. She's not going out lending books about vampires. She's like remembering that she read Dracula, I think.
It would have been very interesting if after Twilight, like in New Moon and every book forward, she would just have this hobby of picking up vampire books when she saw them.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, Anne Rice was out there.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the bookcase because there's Anne Rice.
That's something I really want to talk more about in Breaking Dawn. But immortality is an interesting topic that Anne Rice nailed. I love the vampire Lestat.
So that would have been
they could have talked together about that. What is it like being immortal?
And Stephanie Meyer could also had them do literary discussions, because Bella obviously know like Debussy.
Oh yeah,
I cannot say his name.
Debussy. Now we've said it in all the ways.
But she knows that song, Claire de Lune.
Yeah.
And they don't discuss it. They never discuss music.
Yeah.
They don't discuss anything like hobby-wise. So of course, when he's not there and he's her whole life, I don't know what they do staring to each other's souls.
I have no idea what they do when they're not arguing.
But they don't share much, and I think that's a long, eternal life. On to the next.
Yes. Now we are getting into the kisses. Multiple, because we're going to start with the first kiss that Jacob forces her into.
Yes.
I think you should take this one.
So I hate Jacob. And this book just put a pin through...
When did you start hating Jacob?
I don't think in the first book. I think he was cute, and I think the chemistry was a lot better than Edward and Bella's. In New Moon, he's a friend, but he's also 15, maybe 16. I don't know when his birthday is. Oh yeah, he says he's had a birthday while she was comatose.
Yeah.
So he's 16 and...
She's 2 years older than him.
He's just irrelevant, because he's there to pass the time. And even though he's a fully flexed character, while most in these books are not, he doesn't get under my skin. I think his humor is sometimes good, but we learn about Seth in this book, and I think Seth is just so much better.
Seth is so fun.
I actually laughed a couple of times out loud because of Seth. So, and I never did that with Jacob. And I think also a lot of the resentment through Jacob comes from the first time reading it, because again, he's a filler. He's a stand-in dummy. He's like the Lolita doll, blow-up doll you get while you're waiting for your girlfriend or boyfriend. Like, he's that. Or
Josephine had a Lolita doll.
Of course. Those anime hug pillows you can get. No. Or like that arm you can get to sleep with. You can get like a pillow that's full
I'm
like
so out of the loop, apparently.
Okay, so I know all the stuff. So you can get that, and that's what Jacob is. He's that pillow with an arm you sleep with.
The problem is Jacob's function in the story would have been to challenge Bella's perceptions and assumptions about her relationship with Edward. It would have been challenging her assumption that she was going to be preferring immortality, and would make her actually have to make a choice to become immortal instead of like, my human life is boring, so obviously I'm going to choose immortality and stay with Edward. But it's not something that takes up a lot of space. There's a little bit of it at the end of Eclipse, when she finally, after their second kiss, she finally realizes that she is in love with Jacob. But it's barely a choice, because she's like, well, there was like the emotions
But
I have for.
fucked up. That's so fucked up. She doesn't realize she's in love with him. There's no feeling of in love. She loves him, and I get that he's a friend, but she's not in
Yeah,
love.
I agree.
I don't way.
I don't agree with the story that she's in love with Jacob. But the fact is that she is like, she sees the potential life she could have had with Jacob, and she wants it badly, but she only wants it enough to be sad to not have it, not enough to consider it. And I think that's the problem in the story is actually that Jacob never has a chance, because if he had a chance, he could play that role better, and Bella would have to actually make the choice. Edward would actually have to fight more for her. He does fight for her, but like there's never any doubt who she's gonna pick. So Jacob becomes a little bit irrelevant.
Yes.
And that's, I think, is what the problem you're describing.
And because he's irrelevant, he gets these powers, it feels like. So he becomes a werewolf, so he has the upper hand in some way. That he is what she also desires to be, something supernatural. And then he's so angry in Eclipse. And he tries not to be, but he's so angry. And I get that. I've been angry a lot of times. I still get angry, of course.
Yeah, but he's angry just in this part of his life. Like from Eclipse, from Edward Returns till he imprints on Renesmee, Jacob is just pissed all the time.
And he asks her to come. He knows that she doesn't want to do anything with him, like, except being friends. But she doesn't want to do anything sexual with him. And he wants that. He wants a fully flexed relationship. And she said multiple times, except for New Moon. One time she said maybe. So he just kisses her. And the whole thing is disgusting. I put it in here as a mouth rape. Because he does this against her will. And she is standing still. First she fights, and she can't fight. He's too strong.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about their relationship being not well balanced. Because he is stronger than her. And even though she pushes him with all her might, he just kisses her more passionately or ferociously.
He assumes that she likes it.
I don't know, but I actually felt more like, I'm going to make you like it.
Yeah.
More like that, but like she's fighting, I'm going to show her with my tongue.
I just want to say that with all of the bad things Edward has done, this puts Jacob pretty high up on the list as well.
No, it puts him above it. For me.
Yeah, okay.
And
I want to delve into that, because I think the reason I don't think this is as bad as some of the other things, I think the second kiss where he tricks her into wanting to kiss him is worse, because he's doing it, it's a lot more diabolical. This is more like he's a young boy, he's in love, and then he kisses her. He kind of misreads the situation. And
one kiss is okay.
Yeah, but
it's not okay, but
yeah,
you could understand.
You can understand
trying to kiss her.
Yeah, exactly. He tries to kiss her. He misreads the situation. So that does not put him above the things Edward does purposefully, like destroy her car and get Alice to kidnap her.
But then what happens after the kiss?
Right
That thing.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so let's get into what Jacob does when Bella tells him she did not like that kiss.
No. I would just like to read the most disgusting part of this kiss. I grabbed at his face, trying to push it away, failing again. He seemed to notice this time, though it aggravated him. His lips forced mine open, and I could feel his hot breath in my mouth. So he's so strong that he's pulling apart her lips with his tongue, breathing into her mouth, while he notices that she doesn't want to kiss him anymore. Can you see how bad that is? Can you feel the mouth rape? It's not okay. Like a peck, and she's pushing him and he's stopping. But he's not. And then he's not even feeling fucking sorry. He's
almost gleeful.
And then, yes, and she breaks her hand hitting him. And good for her, like taking action with this happening. And then he says, Bella, you broke your hand. Now stop dancing around and let me look at it. Don't touch me! I'm going home right now. I'll get my car, he said calmly. He wasn't even rubbing his jaw like they did in movies. How pathetic. No thanks, I hissed. I'd rather walk. And I think this don't touch me. He's trying to touch her again, and I can't have that. She's with her words and with her body, she's recoiling from him. And he's just like, just let me drive you home. And she doesn't have any way to fight him because he is stronger than her. Again, it's like with Edward, I think in some of the first 2 books, there's a scene like where he's also restraining her with his physical strength, and that's not okay again. And then he says in the car, oh, come on, he said, all cheering, looking like he was about to start whistling again. That had to be better than kissing a rock. And she said, not even remotely close, I told him coldly. He pursed his lips. You could just be saying that, but I'm not. So he's deluding himself into thinking that she liked him kissing her. That she thinks it's okay, because of course she wants that beautiful werewolf Native American to kiss her. And people, to quote Rod Stewart, do you think I'm sexy? Come on, baby, over, I think he's saying, and tell me. That's the whole song. If you want somebody to kiss you, they will tell you. They should be telling you. Maybe you misread a situation and you give a kiss, and then they say, fuck you, don't ever kiss me again, and you're like, fuck, I'm sorry. I don't understand that.
You're right, it's the reaction. It's the reaction to what you did wrong that's the really horrible part here. And then he gets home and the whole situation destroys our beloved Charlie.
Oh, I love Charlie so much. Okay, I love Charlie so much.
So after Bella punches Jacob, he takes her home, and then Charlie and Jacob kind of makes fun of it. Charlie is not as he should be, saying, don't fucking kiss my daughter unless she wants to. And then this happens later.
I stared down blankly at my hands. My left hand rested lightly on the dark brace I rarely thought about. My broken knuckle didn't hurt much anymore. I never thought I needed to teach you how to throw a punch. Guess I was wrong about that. I thought you were taking on Jacob's side. No matter what side I'm on, if someone kisses you without your permission, you should be able to make your feelings clear without hurting yourself. You didn't keep your thumb inside your fist, did you? Nice job, good job. No, Dad, that's kind of sweet in a weird way, but I don't think lessons would have helped. Jacob's head is really hard. Charlie laughed. Hit him in the gut next time. Next time? I asked incredulously. Don't be too hard on the kid. He's young. Fuck you, Charlie. There's no excuse for being young, or being a boy, or being a girl for that behavior. There's not going to be a next time. There should never be a next time. There can be a mistake. There's always room for mistakes. There's not room for mouth rapes in any way.
Yeah.
And I hate Charlie so much for this, because I love Charlie, but this takes.
I feel like
he could be educated.
The problem here, I think, is not Charlie, because it would be within Charlie's character to be angry with Jacob. Or at least be like, you shouldn't do that. Like, I'm not going to be really angry at you because I love you, kid, but like, don't do that again. It's not okay. She's my daughter. Don't act that way. You should be sorry. The problem is, the whole thing in Eclipse with Charlie is that he is angry at Edward and he is Team Jacob.
He's Team Jacob.
And so he becomes almost this caricature. Every time Edward is in the room, he's like, really hates Edward. Every time Jacob's in the room, he's like, really pro Jacob. And that just comes off wrong in this scene. And I think that's more on the author than on Charlie.
I think so too. Yeah.
I think sometimes you have to remember that sometimes characters are acting bad because the characters are bad, but sometimes they're acting bad because the author forgot how to do them properly. And I feel like that's what's happening here.
That's like how I feel about Alice in New Moon when she takes only Bella to Italy. But I got it out of my way. Yeah. Teach everybody to kick somebody in the gut if they kiss you and you don't want it.
Yeah.
Don't listen to dads not being informed how that's not okay next time. And on that note, maybe I can just say I hate Renee. She's Bella's mom. And Renee chooses not to show up to her daughter's only graduation, so far that she knows, of high school, which is a big thing in America.
It's a big thing here as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big thing in Denmark, so I relate. She chooses not to show up to her daughter's graduation from high school because her husband has broken some bone in his hip or whatever. But she chooses that she has to nurse this fuckboy she's married to not to go see her only daughter's graduation. And I don't respect Renee. I don't get her life choices. And I know there's other moms out there acting like Renee, and I don't get it. It's not an excuse not to fly across country, to be with your daughter for maybe 24 hours, see her graduate, a big, big thing, because your husband has broken a bone. A husband that never features in these books, who has no roles, who's not a thing in Bella's life.
He gave her a CD.
He gave her a CD, I forgot that, yeah.
And it's Linkin Park.
Oh, it's Linkin Park, even better.
Yeah.
Okay, I can like a little bit for that.
I know that because when I was young, I read all of the frequently asked questions for Twilight.
I love it. That part, I love it.
Let's talk about Rosalie and Jasper. Mm-hmm. So one thing I want to say about Rosalie is that
you were looking forward to this.
I really love her chapter. And I love how she and Bella behave toward each other, because it's a complex scene where Rosalie has not liked Bella up to this point, and she's clearly showing remorse at the end of New Moon. She's like, thank you for saving my brother, I'm so sorry. So some depth is starting to crawl into her character. And then here, it's actually a sweet scene, because it's clear that she's nice to Bella. And
Edward is away.
Yeah, Edward is away.
Because he wouldn't have approved.
Yeah. And then then she tells Bella her story. And she's like...
becoming a vampire.
Yeah. And how she was raped by her fiancé, left to die, and Carlisle saved her.
Not only raped by her fiancé, but also his drunk-ass friends.
Yeah. It's so great. And then when she was a vampire, she went to kill all of them. She explains to Bella that the reason she doesn't like her is because she's making all of the choices Rosalie wouldn't have. Rosalie would have stayed human and had kids and been married if she could. And I just feel like that whole scene is very sobering, and it's very sweet how they're behaving toward each other.
But that was what Jacob should have done, right? That was the perspective on Bella's life that Jacob should have been able to give. And that's what Rosalie does.
Yeah, except Bella doesn't really...
That's why it's good. It's so good because it's refreshing and it's new.
Yeah, it's another perspective, and I feel like Rosalie comes off as a very complex character here. We're going to talk about her in Breaking Dawn again, but I really like that part. But one thing that frustrates me about Rosalie is that she really wanted kids, right? Rosalie is an immortal being. She has almost lived 100 years because she was made a vampire shortly after the Great Depression. So she's about 90 years old. She never gets over not having children. Children are children. They're small for such a small part of your life. It's strange to me that she never finds a way to get over it. Like, the Cullens could have adopted a human child, you know. Like, Rosalie and Emmett could have gone off, adopted a child and helped it grow up and then send it off to be human, right?
They wouldn't be able to do that and keeping the Volturi's rules.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. That's a fair point. But then back to the point that I think it's strange that she just... And I guess it's because I just don't have that big of a maternal instinct, but the fact that her entire life revolves around the sorrow that she did not have children, that she is sad that she did not have children, she has a difficult time enjoying her current life.
I think it's not having children but not being able to. Like, the choice was taken from her, because I get it why she would be sad about that. And
I get that she's sad about it.
Why every time she's with Emmett, she's remembering this is not going to be something of us. I'm not going to give something of me to the world, or give the love I have in me to some other being than Emmett.
Yeah.
And I actually get that. So I think it gives depth, and I think it stems from a lot of people's fears not being able to have children.
I really love the backstory, and being sterile is a interesting topic and one that always gets to me. So I feel for her, but it's just so. It just seems like she's not even trying to get over it, and I feel that's the problem. That she's not even really trying to figure out some way of.
She's still superficial. As she's telling Bella that she was really superficial, but she still is. Yeah. And that's like the complex. And also, that's part of also Stephanie Meyer's great use of Chekhov's gun. We never get any information that are not used. And her childlessness is important for the plot. Yeah. And that's why it's mentioned. But it was a good chapter, and it's a great
chapter. I really loved Rosalie there. My only complaint is that I wish she had continued to expand.
Oh yeah.
From there, and that we would have seen that Edward had maybe kept her apart from Rosalie because Rosalie doesn't like her. But now that some connection had happened, we see Rosalie as a fully fledged character, and she could hang out with Alice and Bella more. But it just didn't happen.
Also, I didn't like the weak explanation of why she liked Emmett. Because he looked like a boy she envied, like a little baby boy that she envied when she was a human.
Yeah. But I don't like Rosalie and Emmett. I don't understand why they're together.
The bitch and the job?
Yeah, but that's the problem. It's so stereotypical. We're gonna... Okay. Sorry, we have so many things that are gonna come at the end of this when we get to authorial control.
Next.
Jasper.
Oh, so we both love Jasper.
I love Jasper.
Coming into this. He is an iconic character who is not really fleshed out.
Yeah.
And he has this great background story of being created to figure as a warhead or a general.
Yeah, so basically, if you guys don't remember, in the south of, and not South America, but the south of North America is how you're supposed to understand
Texas.
it. Yeah, Texas. Where everything is new moon, get your shit together. What happened in the south was that vampires started creating these armies of newborns in order to take each other down and to get the good hunting grounds. And Jasper was created by a vampire called Mariah. She created him to have him as a newborn, but then because of his powers to calm people down, he became a really good asset for her. So instead of destroying him once the newborn blood ran out and the powers ran out, she kept him to be in charge of all of her newly created newborns. So that's his backstory, and it's great.
It's great, yeah. He has a lot of pain, and he has a lot of mixed feelings about being a vampire, and one of the things...
And about being a vegetarian vampire.
Exactly. One of the things I really loved is when the war is coming on, they all turn to Jasper because he is the one with the knowledge of war. And he is the general in some ways still. And he says that they would be stronger if they drink human blood. And Bella is like, yeah, drink some human blood then. And
no. She thinks for a moment she's like anything that could make sure they survived.
Yeah.
But like, why don't they just drink that type O they've got lying around that Bella drinks in Breaking Dawn?
I think it's because it would be harder to go back being a vegetarian.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Okay, so I love vampires and I dearly love the Blade movies. So if you haven't seen Wesley Snipers' Blade,
I haven't.
Oh my god, it's so good. I love it. Like, it's so kitsch and it's so late zeros, and I even love the one with Ryan Reynolds. I mean, come on. I love it so much. But one of the things is that they're trying to back all human beings just to like have them giving blood. Don't like putting them in big halls and just donating blood. Sort of like Matrix also, where all the humans is just harvested for their stuff. I can't remember why they're harvested.
I think it's electricity in their body that's used to...
in their bodies. Yes. So that's harvested, and I don't get... I actually thought that Carly was a doctor to get the blood. That would have been an amazing plot twist for them just drinking donated blood.
But then they would have red eyes. So, it couldn't really happen.
Yeah, but they can use contact, right? They have money. Also, a problem of mine, all the money. But
I mean, it makes sense that they're so rich.
It makes sense, but it's sort of like everybody's Barbie fantasy.
Yeah, but we've talked about this. It is a fantasy.
Exactly, it is.
But it makes sense if you live forever and you got some money lying around that you can invest in stocks. You're gonna be rich.
And one of them can like predict the future, so that's also good. Get it? It makes sense.
It's a natural consequence of.
I just don't like it. But because they take all the struggle out of being in a relationship. They take all the meaning out of being in a relationship in some ways. For me.
Him having money.
Yeah. Mm. It is a problem, especially in this book, that she doesn't want his gifts. But yeah. I forgot what I was talking about. Jasper.
How does it take the struggle out of it?
Okay, so a lot of things that people are struggling to talk about in a relationship, or they have to figure out to be in a relationship that's good, that's their economy. Mm. Or do you call that in English?
Yeah,
money problem? Yeah. Just money.
Yeah.
Economy. Their personal economy. It's about children. It's about sex. And there's two more, and I always forget it. It's money, sex, children, work, and hobbies. And they're important. So money is not a problem. So that's for Edward and Bella, so that's not something they talk about. She knows, due to Rosalie, she's never going to have children, and she's okay with that because all she wants is Edward. So she just doesn't deal with it at all. So that's taken out. Maybe also because she's 18, so children right now is not a problem for Bella. So that's also taken out. Hobbies, well, none of them have hobbies except each other. So that's also taken out. Work, well, none of them has to work. So that's also taken out. And what was the last one? Sex. So he doesn't want to have sex with her before they're married. So that's the only.
And also, sex is just wonderful for them.
Oh, also, yeah. No, we haven't gotten to that part yet. Mm-hmm. Huh? Shh, don't spoil the book for them. Sex is awful.
You have a happy marriage, I hear.
But that's the 5 things you should discuss in a relationship. Also, if I have a time-consuming hobby, as of right now, I'm doing these podcasts and reading a lot of Twilight, and it's been very busy for me because my child doesn't want to sleep without a grown-up in the room.
She was, right before we started filming, she was reading the last 20 pages of Breaking Dawn.
Yes, and I've listened to them on audiobooks too, like shifting between them to get through Eclipse and Breaking Dawn. And my husband is the one taking care of all the house chores right now. He just texted me.
I'm destroying your marriage.
No, because we talk about it. So that's the difference. We talk about it, and sometimes he's also busy. But that is the things. My hobby is taking over, so his hobby is doing the house chores. And you have to talk about that, but they have none of those problems. Also because Alice apparently is the one who cleans the house. I don't know why. Alice and Esme. So they don't have any problems whatsoever to talk about, and I thought that was sad they took it out with the money.
And very sad that they don't really talk about the problems they actually have, which, as I said before with the Vampire Lestat, if you have not read the Interview with the Vampire and the Vampire Lestat, do read them. They are incredible at going into the effect immortality has on the mind. What does it mean for you when you cannot die? And sometimes you just don't want to go on anymore.
Can vampires get depressed?
Yeah, exactly. Can vampires get depressed? And so it would be very interesting. Bella should be interested in knowing what is immortality like.
Or what love forever is actually
About.
Yeah, about, but also like I cannot say any words. Just forget it. But what love forever means, because we say it a lot as humans, but we know forever is until death do us part. And the statistics says even then we don't do it for that long, because loving is hard work. Also because you changes, you get different views. Maybe you think Trump is a good president. Maybe your partner doesn't. And stuff like that. But they don't discuss that at all. Carla and Esme has been together forever. Rosaline and Emmett has been together forever. For some odd 50 years, Alice and Jasper has been together. Also, that was the part I really, really liked about Jasper's story, getting back to the actual topic.
The actual topic.
Was how he met Alice. He's wanting to break off from his friends, and he walks into a diner, and there she is. And she is not afraid of him. She's greeting him, smiling, and saying, "I thought you never would come," or something like that.
Yeah.
It took you forever. And
you kept me waiting. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, ma'am.
Exactly. He's so cute.
He's so cute. I really appreciate Jasper's story because it also lends backstory to Alice. And it actually made me understand their relationship better. So I would say, aside from Bella and Edward and Carlisle, Alice and Jasper are the Cullen relationship that is most fleshed out.
But they talk about stuff. They trust each other.
Yeah.
That's so obvious from the rest of the book that they actually have a relationship. I don't know about Carla and Esme, because like they're just
Breaking Dawn. I have stuff to say about that.
Okay, but we love Jasper.
We love Jasper. Still do. There's not
even though he's like not that fully fleshed out. He's a good character.
I think you can fill a lot of the gaps. I really like because up until this point, Bella is like, it seems like Jasper is only with the Cullens because of Alice. But I feel like here we get more the sense that he really needed to find the Cullens. He was depressed before he found the Cullens. He still is kind of depressed, and Jasper is an interesting character, and he continues to grow even in Breaking Dawn. He's actually the vampire who grows the most, who is actually changing
through the 2 years this book are going.
Yeah, he's very, very interesting. I want a Jasper Ellis spin-off.
Do anyone of you know a good fan fiction about Jasper
and Alice? I once fell over one. I found it, and I haven't been able to find it since.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and it begins with Jasper walks in and Alice is there, and then you follow them their entire adventure until they find the Cullens. But I only read the first chapter, and then I couldn't find it again. It was a good fanfic. There are just a few things that we need to mention about Jasper that we didn't get to in this episode, and that is that Jasper actually fought for the Confederacy, which means that he was on the side of slavery. And it's a very subtle thing in the books, so it's actually difficult to notice. I know I never noticed it before because I'm not an American, so I just didn't have the context for that. As I mentioned earlier, I actually thought the Southern Vampire Wars thing was taking place in Southern America, and then I realized it was the Southern USA. So the issue of Jasper fighting as a brave and very enthusiastic young soldier on the side of slavery is never dealt with in the story, and it's not something that needs to be mentioned a lot or to be delved into very much. It just needed to be acknowledged. All that needed to be said was for Jasper, who is an empathic person who feels the emotions of the people around him. So, becoming a vampire, if he did not respect Black people before this, if he did not see them as equals to white people, he certainly should now, because he's able to feel that they're just as complex and just as worthy of respect and love as white people. And the fact that he doesn't, all that was needed was that when he said that he was an enthusiastic young soldier, he could have scoffed. He could have acknowledged that he was young, naive, and just uninformed, and had wrong ideals, and that now he knows better, and that he wished that he'd known better then. That's all that was needed. But since it's not mentioned, it's kind of an issue, and it's kind of uncomfortable because I really like Jasper. It's difficult when you're an author to grab all of these little things. You're not as aware of everything. This slip on Stephanie Meyer's side is not proof that she's racist. It's proof that she made a slip. While we need to be critical of authors, we also need to acknowledge that creating a huge work like this is difficult and it's gonna have flaws. So as far as flaws go, I don't think this is the worst because it's such a minor thing. When I say that it's a minor thing, I mean that it's a minor thing in the grand scope of the story. Obviously not that Jasper fighting on the side of slavery is a minor thing. It's a huge thing when you realize it. But it was a minor part of the story, and it would only have taken a minor, barely a sentence to fix. The next thing that I really want to talk about, now that we're already talking about talking with each other in a relationship, I want to talk about Edward. Talk. After Edward becomes less of a control freak, I want to talk about him after that because I like him more, and I think he and Bella have some good scenes. For instance, I think it's in the chapter called Compromise. He asks her why she so wants to become immortal, why she doesn't want to become older. He asks her also whether it's for him that she wants to become a vampire or if she just wants to be immortal, and she asks him why he doesn't want her to become a vampire. And I actually think that conversation is quite good. And it brings some of that depth we've been missing previously. And because off camera, we try not to talk about these things off camera, but we can't help ourselves. And Josephine was talking about how after Edward stops being controlling in Eclipse, he actually kind of drops out of the story. And I would like for you to repeat the things you said to me.
When we talk about what we remembered about the books, you said that you remembered Edward being like a nobody in Breaking Dawn. He's just there. And I felt this very hard in Eclipse, that halfway through the book, when he's realized that he shouldn't be a controlling asshole, he then just becomes nothing. He's just perfect. And I think it's because he's an avatar. Like, he is what you put your boyfriend into, your imaginary boyfriend or your real boyfriend, whatever. Prince Harry, if you prefer. I don't. But you can put anybody into him because he's nice, he's understanding, and he's most of all very loving. He sets boundaries, yes, for sex, but that's like...
He's being responsible there,
He's being
actually.
responsible, yeah, because he's religious.
Oh, also just because he could destroy her.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I think it's mostly the destruction part.
I think they missed an opportunity for explore other positions as missionary. I think it's very weird they didn't think about that. But maybe it's because they're two virgins.
Yeah. If she was sitting on top,
exactly.
Yeah, she could control the whole thing.
Like, he could just not do anything.
The question is whether he could control himself.
Exactly, that's another point. Yeah. But like, all we discussed are missionary, right? Because I can see it's a problem. It's a problem with Superman as well. If you read anything about Superman, he has very he has a lot of thoughts about destroying Lois Lane while having sex, and I think maybe
that
she
makes
stole
sense.
it from there. Maybe she just took it from that. I don't know. If
I think it's a natural consequence of the situation.
Of course. But he's an avatar. You put him in as a perfect boyfriend. He doesn't do anything that's obtruse. There are no fights, like, except for sex, which is one of the 5 things. So they fight about sex because they cannot agree. And that's...
marriage.
That's basically it, yeah. But sex is a part of marriage for him.
I wish I had some good examples from the book. I just don't agree that he totally loses all personality. If anything, I think he gains more personality, because before this he is constantly so controlling and brooding and, oh, Bella, I love you, oh, growling, blah, 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 blah. But I feel like he just gains a bit of depth when he actually starts just embracing his jealousy, but also not being a total douche about it.
Maybe it's because he is evolving from being that asshole you're describing. He is becoming more or better, and he's actually working on it. Like, he's trying to control himself. When they're in the tent in Eclipse, and Jacob is thinking of her, like, he's cuddling her, and Edward is like, could you not think that?
Yeah.
Or could you not think that loud? It makes sense. I would be jealous too if I knew somebody, like, if I could hear somebody wanted to be with my husband, I would be like, first flattered, because I know. But then, but then I would be,
could you go away,
could you please stop? And that's also why Jacob is fucking disgusting. Like,
he's constantly provoking Edward with his thoughts.
He's doing purposely, but I don't think he even did it purposely in the tent. He's just having a warm body. and he also loves Bella, so of course he would be thinking of, but like, thoughts are private, right?
Yeah.
But they're not with Edward, so
Nope.
rein it in.
Yeah.
Dog. I'm so sorry, my jokes are so bad. I can see why I would want some examples, like Edward's acceptance of Seth after the fight. That's a good trait of personality.
It is.
I think so too.
And I also think, and that's what's difficult here, because Eclipse and Breaking Dawn have so many similar things that I want to talk about. But the whole him starting to like Jacob in Breaking Dawn, I never knew what I always wanted was a Jacob-Edward bromance. Like, I wanted those two to become bros. And yeah.
But I think, so I wouldn't want that for Jacob's sake. Like, as much as I hate Jacob, I think Bella is a huge bitch too. Because we know it's because he's going to have something with her kid, that they're loving each other. I knew that when I read this book. I knew it. So I was trying to think, okay, so
she's compelled.
Yeah, so the gravitation towards each other is just her unborn baby calling to him through her. But still, when he's lying all broken, because Jacob gets...
It's a good thing she didn't have a period where she lost Renesmee.
Why?
I'm just saying, if it's the egg inside of her.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's a good thing.
And good thing that was the fertile egg that was ready the moment Edward boned her.
Could you imagine Jacob imprinting on a Tampax? That would have been hilarious.
Someone write that fanfic.
We're normal. We're
Totally.
normal.
We're fine.
So Jacob is lying there broken, and
oh, that's after the fight.
after the fight,
And he has broken his little ribs or something.
yes, he nodded unwillingly, and I knew that he in no way agreed with me. I stretched my neck up to whisper in his ear, laying my cheek against his warm skin. You know I love you. I know, he breathed, his arm tightening automatically around my waist. You know how much I wish it was enough. Yes. I'll always be waiting in the wings, Bella. You will always have that spare option if you want it. Until my heart stops beating. You know, I think maybe I'd still take you. Maybe. I guess that depends on how much you stink. And I think she's very mean to tell him she loves him. Because she's decided to marry Edward. She's decided to commit to Edward because that's what she wants out of life.
But I don't...
I think holding him there with her love and also egging him on. I know she's a teenager too, so I guess I understand that you don't understand the ramification of this, but she's just punching holes.
I disagree. In this scene, I don't think it's evil because he made her realize that she loves him. And as much as I disagree with the fact that she's in love with him, let's just buy the fact that she's in love with him. I think that it's a necessary scene if any of them were supposed to be able to go on. If she was going to become a vampire and not have this scene, I think she would always think about that she should have talked with Jacob. I mean, she
should have talked. I think it's wrong no matter what.
But I think it's what Jacob wanted all along was for her to recognize that she loved him too. So in that way, she's giving him what he wanted throughout the book.
Yeah, but they have talked about that, right? Doesn't she tell him here that she thought about their kids? Or is that later? I thought it was here.
Oh yeah, yes. She's saying there that the worst part is I can see it all, Jacob. Yes. I can see our entire life, and I want it bad. But it's not enough.
Yes. So she's told him about it. He knows.
So you think it's the repeat?
Yeah, it's the she's saying goodbye to him, and she's saying, I love you, and she's doing that for her sake. And I think that's a bitchy thing to do.
I think to me it's a minor thing compared to the fact that the conversation itself.
But still, he mouth raped her, so she can fuck him up if she wants.
So I think we're arriving at the conclusion that Edward and Bella are the more healthy relationship of the two.
Yes. Definitely.
There it is, everybody.
We only talked about the first mouth rape. We didn't talk about the second kiss yet.
Yeah, we're actually still on the kissing. So let's go to the second kiss, y'all.
Okay. So the second kiss is right before the battle. I think Edward has given them some privacy because Jacob ran away because he was mad. Edward got him back, and then Bella.
Yeah, and then Edward goes to give them privacy.
Yeah, and then Bella is talking with Jacob, and Jacob is saying that he will just go down there to die. Nobody will notice. He will do a little duty, and then he will just let the newborn split him apart because she doesn't love him and he doesn't want to live. And Bella is like, "Fuck no! How can I show you that?" I love you, or that I don't want you to die, more specifically. And he says, then ask me, because he's made a
Edward told him, next time you want to kiss her, wait for her to ask first.
And then I don't kill you. So, and she asked me, Edward, would you kiss me? And
Jacob.
Oh yeah, I wish it was Edward. Jacob, would you kiss me? And he does then. And then he is kissing her and she's doing nothing because she just wants to get it over with. And then he's saying...
Which is really a testament to how much she doesn't want to.
Exactly.
If you're frozen, inanimate, while someone's kissing you, you don't want it.
Good kiss, huh?
Uh-huh.
And then he's saying exactly that. You're not showing me how much you want me. Almost exact quote. And then she does it. She kisses him back because she thinks he's going to die, and it's also quite nice that he's not stoned and he's warm. And he kisses her back without taking care of her, which doesn't make sense because he's really a lot stronger than her also too. And
it's funny that Jacob is actually...
It's more like he just is human in this scene, so he can just crush her to his body and just be ferociously...
Yeah, but it's interesting how sex is apparently a problem with the vampires and not with the werewolves.
Yeah, so I think I hated him so much. I can't even find it. Oh yeah, it's because I made a video of this, so watch out for it on Instagram, because it will be up there on how angry I got when I heard that he was forcing her to kiss him, because of course I would have done it too. If you said to me, Josephine, I'm going out there to die in front of a truck, I'll go down to the first best truck, just throw myself under it, because I don't want to live if you don't want to fuck with me. And then I would like, okay, I guess I don't want that on my conscience. It's like in unhealthy relationships when people say I will break up with you, and the other person will say, well, then I'll kill myself, and then you keep being in that relationship, and I just don't get what Jacob gets out of it.
No negotiating with terrorists.
Exactly, she doesn't want him, and she even chooses. She even though she thinks she's in love with him, which is bullshit. Like, of course, I don't discredit anybody's feelings, but this seems like a tried move from the author.
It really feels forced, because at no point throughout the book do we really feel that Bella feels about Jacob in that way.
That's why we all hate triangles in YAs, because this was a bad triangle. There was no triangle. There was Edward and Bella, and then Jacob from underneath, like being like...
Exactly. The problem here is, and I feel that's the general problem with a lot of love triangles, is that they're not handled as painfully as a real love triangle is. A real love triangle is terrible, because you love two people and you have to pick one. And everyone's gonna get their heart broken. I mean,
and she doesn't want to fuck Jacob. That's the big thing. Like, even though she kissed him, she realized she's in love with him. She has no desire for him. What she desires is small children being happy.
All the human things he can give and be for her.
Yeah, human things, but also healthy feelings in some way. Like, when she's thinking about Jacob, she's thinking about easy and happy. But she's not thinking anything in the lines of lust and love in that context. So the kiss for me was as bad as the mouth rape, because he forces himself on her, even though she's the one being on him in some sense. And then she finds out afterwards it was all just pretense. He was just saying that to get her to kiss him. And she forgives him because he's beaten up. And I'm like, he fucking deserved that. Nobody deserves to die, but he's a fictional character, so it's almost cool.
Edward's reaction to the whole scene in the tent and the kiss with Jacob afterwards is very interesting, because I feel like he's almost become too lenient now. Like, we're back to when I was like, Bella has a right to be angry. Well, Edward has a right to not want his girlfriend to go kissing other people.
Yes.
That's not a part of their contract. If they were in an open relationship and they had talked about kissing other people, that's another thing. But they are clearly in a monogamous, closed, sealed deal relationship.
And at this time she said yes to marry him, so...
Yeah. So it's also frustrating that Edward doesn't get to be frustrated with her.
But I think that's the typical thing of Stephanie Meyer. She just glazes over it.
They forgive each other way too easily.
Yes.
And also because, like, you can forgive someone and still be sad and still be angry at them. You can still feel hurt. And that's kind of the thing with New Moon. Because Bella is suffering from trauma after New Moon. She forgave Edward. She wants him back. But it's okay that she's still in pain after New Moon, and that she's still suffering from the ramifications.
And she doesn't want to talk with Edward about it because it brings him pain to remember that he brought her pain.
And that's one of the things I really hate, that she is avoiding talking about her pain because it brings him pain.
Healthy
I hate that
relationship.
Yeah. Really.
Yeah, get all your pointers from Twilight, sure.
Yeah, no, just take Twilight and then don't do that. I mean, you're gonna be pretty golden then.
Open your mouth and talk.
Just say what's on your mind. Don't talk as much as us.
Yeah, I actually think it tied nicely in with his I just want what Bella wants.
Yeah.
So if she wanted Jacob, he would have been in pain, but he would have let her go. And I think it's okay actually.
Yeah.
I get why I wanted him to be mad, but
yeah. It's part of his character. And I feel I have to clarify that though it frustrates me that he isn't angry, I do like about him that he isn't angry, that he is suffering, but he is getting over his suffering. He's getting over his reaction.
But the whole start maybe of bromance where they're having a Q&A with Truth, Jacob and Edward in the tent. I hate that part because Bella... No, that was just a Danish word mixing in. No, I like the dialogue. What I don't like is we need to have it through Bella because this is first person.
She actually has another chapter from Jacob's perspective. Why couldn't we just have had this chapter from Jacob's perspective?
Exactly. So So she's thinking, oh, it must just be one of my vivid dreams. This didn't happen.
I can disregard all of the pain Edward made clear in this conversation because it wasn't real, it was a dream.
It was just a dream. Because this would be too weird if they were talking together like that. Fucking stupid woman. I think it's because Stephanie Meyer painted herself up in a corner. So she really needed this to be clear, to show how much Edward had grown and how whiny Jacob is, in my opinion. But it's really good dialogue, and it's important.
It's such a. I mean, yeah. If we disregard the narrative perspective, it's one of the best chapters in the series.
Exactly. So it's really good, but it's ruined by Bella's perspective, and I think that's where Stephanie Meyer is not an exceptional writer. She's doing this a lot.
Letting Bella eavesdrop? She doesn't do that a lot.
She's letting Bella know things that you wouldn't get a conclusion of normally.
I think maybe we should wrap this up. We're gonna take authorial control in Breaking Dawn. I'm sorry. I know we said we were gonna take, but we're gonna all of the things where it was relevant with Eclipse. I think we're just gonna take authorial control, put it all into the Breaking Dawn video.
Oh,
you get it there because I think this video is too long.
It's so long.
It's so long.
It's probably so much.
Yeah.
We have a lot of
There's
thoughts
so
about
much
it.
to say.
But yeah.
But we're gonna do a wrap up of the series with authorial control.
Okay.
So let's end this by talking about the climax.
Okay, so yeah, that was actually what I was getting into.
Yeah, that was why I stopped you.
That's smart. So the build-up is exactly like Twilight, and not exactly like New Moon, because New Moon had some aspects of build-ups in the middle too.
As we talked about, the anticlimax in New Moon would work stellarly if there was a battle in Breaking Dawn.
Exactly. So New Moon is actually the one with the best arc, if I would say so myself.
Yeah.
But Twilight is also like, oh, there's 100 pages left of the book. Let's put on some murderous vampires who want to eat Bella. And this book does exactly the same. There's a huge ass long build up for like just the love story.
I mean, this does it better than Twilight though, because the danger is present from the beginning. The story is more about of Eclipse is more about their reactions to the danger. Edward being controlling because of the danger. Jacob being blah blah blah. Yeah.
That's true.
The tension
but
between
it's still like, oh, there's 100 pages left of the book. We need to have a fight. And that's it.
Yeah.
And and again, like in Twilight, nothing happens. The venom was sucked out of her. In New Moon, Edward didn't die. There was no fight with the Volturi. And in this one, Victoria dies. And all the newborn vampires dies.
It would have been so cool if Bree joined the family.
Exactly. And
that would have been a real consequence too.
And the Volturi even shows up. Not all of them, but some of them.
3 of them. The most important one.
Exactly. So I'm saying exactly on the time. Just shoot me now. But there's nothing.
Do I have a bat somewhere?
I'm
just gonna hand
that. Exactly. Just do that. And say it again. So there's no evolving. Edward might have evolved through these books, but Stephanie Meyer certainly hasn't. She's sticking to the how do you say scabloon? Outline. She's sticking to the exact outline she used for the others.
Yeah, it's the same. But
it's so boring.
The big problem I feel is that you, with a story where the climax is as unimportant as in the Twilight saga, you need there to be real personal development aside from the climax, or building up to the climax, and where even though the climax doesn't really happen, things are now changed. And that's why Twilight works, and it's why New Moon works, because Bella spends a lot of time in New Moon dealing with the consequences of Edward leaving, and the climax and the anticlimax happens as a direct consequence of the actions Edward and Bella took earlier in the book. And Twilight works because for the most of the part, it's just a romance, and then something's tacked on at the end. Whereas the Eclipse and Breaking Dawn work less well because there's a lot of build-up to deal with something that then turned out to be not that dangerous.
We're at the exact same point in Eclipse as we was in the ending of New Moon. There was no difference.
Yeah.
There's no difference at all.
There are a few differences.
No.
There's now a sort of truce between the werewolves and the
There was
vampires.
sort of a truce
Yeah.
between the werewolves and vampires. Because they still want to kill the Cullens if they kill Bella.
Edward has become less controlling.
That's good.
And Bella has gotten more over all of the things that happen in New Moon. I feel that in Eclipse, Bella is more confident in that the fact that Edward loves her.
Yes. But we could have potentially not have had this book at all, and Stephanie Meyer could have been throughout his actions in New Moon that pained Bella so much, and because they talked about it, Edward has decided to try to be less controlling.
Yeah, and then it's shown
and
it
we
in...
didn't need this book. We didn't need it. I think it's so useless, because I don't want to have the Jacob part. The triangle is so tried. It's... Even though she was one
It worked in New Moon because Jacob was the one who put her back together.
Yes. And it worked also because she tried to imagine herself with Jacob in another way. Here she sees it clearly, and then she's like, but Edward.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. And I think this book is the one I think shouldn't have been written. Because I don't see the point of it. I
minded less. I feel if I was an editor or whatever, I couldn't justify this book's existence with the things I'm about to say, but the the development in their sexual relationship couldn't have been put in New Moon.
No.
It wouldn't have worked with as little time as there was left in New Moon after Edward returns. I think the development in their relationship concerning their compromises could not have been gone in there. We couldn't have in the same way shown that Edward became less controlling if we had to show it in Breaking Dawn, because in Breaking Dawn she becomes a vampire and becomes less breakable. So he had to do that development while she was still human.
But he could have asked her to marry him at the end of New Moon.
He does.
He does?
Yeah, he tells her that if she marries him, he will make her a vampire.
Oh yeah, I knew that. But
he could have done it properly. Like, they could have had the conversation that they had in Eclipse.
I see what you add. I didn't need 550 pages on it.
Yeah.
I mean, she could have done Breaking Dawn in 2 books instead. That's thing 2 months as well.
Yeah.
And then not have all this. If I didn't have to reread this for this video, I never would have read it beyond the first 30 pages. No, I never would have read it beyond when Jacob kissed her. I would have been like, I'm done.
I mean, for me, the whole first part was the hardest part. I was so angry because of Edward, and then after he became less controlling, it was better.
I was angry too, like all the breakup comments and fuck you. I think that's what I've written most in these books, is just like fuck you, because it's how they act. Yeah.
Let's wrap this up. This was Eclipse, and we're gonna be going into Breaking Dawn next.
If you have any comments, if you want to say something, if you agree, if you not agree, please let us know on either.
Who of us was most right?
Me. Do it on Instagram or do it...
Yeah, you can follow us on Instagram. We're going to be putting up the reaction videos and
we're
posters
on Instagram
as well. Like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell.
And spread the glitter.
Yeah, it's good enough.